Hello dear students. Today we are going to see about the lipids. In our previous lectures we have discussed about the polysaccharides and we have seen the synthesis of different polysaccharides like synthesis of starch, synthesis of glycogen, synthesis of peptidoglycan. Now a second focus is on lipids. Okay, so second part is synthesis of lipids. Different lipids are included in your syllabus. Their synthesis like triglyceraldehydes is there, or we can say triglycerols are there. Then fatty acid has been there, phospholipids are there. So these are different lipids included in your syllabus. Okay, so first let's understand what are lipids. Lipids क्या है? Lipids, these are the storage form of energy. Okay, सबसे पहले lipids क्या है? These are the storage form of energy. How glycogen has been there, in the same manner lipids are the storage form of energy. These lipids are made up of fatty acids and alcohol. Okay, lipids किससे बने हैं? Fatty acids और alcohol से ये lipids बने हैं. So you can say that lipids are fats and oily substances. Okay, so lipids are fats and oily substances. Plus these are hydrophobic, that is insoluble in water. Okay, so lipids are hydrophobic in nature, means they are insoluble in water but they are soluble in organic solvents. Okay, they are soluble in organic solvents like ether, ethanol, chloroform, benzene, acetone, etc. So सबसे पहले क्या है? Lipids ये fatty acids है. Okay, so lipids are fatty acids and alcohol. Secondly, they are storage form of energy. Okay, they are the storage form of energy. If we will see the properties of lipids, they are insoluble in water but soluble in organic solvents like ether, ethanol, chloroform, etc. Lipids, if we will see the structure or composition of lipids, then they contain the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen as like that of the carbohydrate. But in lipid, oxygen is present in very less amount. Okay, in very less or in very negligible amount. That is the structure of lipid. Okay, आप कोई भी लिपिड का एग्जाम्पल लीजिए, you take fatty acids or you take glycerol, oxygen is present but in the less amount as compared to the carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so if we will see the composition of lipid, it is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, but oxygen is present in less amount. Okay, so that has been there. Where the lipids are been found? The bacterial cell wall, it is made up of, you can see phospholipids are there. ठीक है, तो ये है phospholipids. Okay, so the head region is hydrophilic, means these are water loving. Okay, hydrophilic means water loving, and tail are non-polar, that is hydrophobic. Okay, so हम बोलते हैं phospholipid bilayer. So that lipid are nothing but these are fat molecules. Okay, so that has been lipids. If we will see the structure, then majority is of carbon and hydrogen. Okay, in rare amount oxygen is been present. So these are the structure of lipids, or you can say examples of lipids. Okay, so examples like glycerol, triglycerol. Okay, triglycerol has been there. Then carboxyl group. Then next is saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acid. The saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acids that we will see within our next moment. Okay, हम अभी देखेंगे ये कि actually what are this. So these are the examples or structures of lipids. Okay, glycerol, triglycerol, then saturated fatty acids, unsaturated fatty acids. Next comes the classification of lipids on the basis of structure or composition. Lipids are classified into three types: simple lipids, compound lipids, and derived lipids. Okay. If we talk about the simple lipids, then these are the, we can say these are made up of esters of fatty acids and glycerols. Okay, these are the simple lipids, esters of fatty acids, मतलब उनके स्ट्रक्चर में वो फैटी एसिड कंसिस्ट करते हैं. ओके, सिंपल लिपिड्स इन देयर स्ट्रक्चर दे कंसिस्ट ऑफ फैटी एसिड्स. और फैटी एसिड्स क्या है? मोस्टली दे कंटेन कार्बन एंड हाइड्रोजन एटम्स along with the oxygen. Okay, so that is been there. Simple lipids are divided into two: fats and waxes. Fats or oils, you can say. Okay, fats, these are solid at room temperature, and oils, these are liquid at room temperature. Okay, fats or oils. So if we will see about the fats, these are, or they contain, their structure contain fatty acid and alcohol. Okay, फैट्स में क्या होता है? फैटी एसिड एंड अल्कोहल. अल्कोहल इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ग्लिसरॉल. ओके, अल्कोहल इज प्रेजेंट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ग्लिसरॉल. सो इफ वी विल सी द फैट्स which comes under the group of simple lipids, these fats are made up of fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, or we can say fatty acid and alcohol, and alcohol is present in the form of glycerol. That is about the fats. Next is waxes. Wax, these are made up of fatty acids and alcohol, but here alcohol is not glycerol. Here other alcohol is there which is waxy substances. Okay, like acetyl alcohol, etc. Okay, so that are the waxes which are made up of fatty acids and alcohol. Next category is compound lipid, or it is also called as complex lipids. Okay, compound lipids, these are the esters of fatty acids and alcohol containing other group also. Means what? Simple lipids में सिर्फ क्या थे? फैटी एसिड था और अल्कोहल था. ओके, यहाँ पर क्या है? फैटी एसिड है, अल्कोहल है, एंड अदर ग्रुप्स आर ऑल्सो देयर. Other groups like phosphate group might be there, sulfate group might be there. Okay, so like that different groups are there along with fatty acid and alcohol, that are known as the compound lipids. Last is derived lipids. Derived lipids, these are composed of hydrocarbon rings and a long hydrocarbon chain. Okay, hydrocarbon means they contain hydrogen as well as carbon. So these are made up of hydrogen and carbon chain, or we can say hydrogen and carbon ring. That are the derived lipids. Okay, so what are the foods which contain the high amount of fats in our daily diet? They are like meats is there, fatty meat, cheese, butter, avocado, nuts and seeds, chocolates. Okay, they contain the fat. So that are the food in which fats are being present. So yes, simple lipids we have shown that it is divided into two groups: fats and wax. Complex lipid, or we can say compound lipids. Compound lipids, they contain the fatty acids and alcohol, but apart from fatty acids and alcohol, there is an additional group like phosphate, sulfate, nitrogen, or carbohydrate or protein. Okay, so that are the complex lipid or compound lipids. These are divided into 4 categories. So these 4 categories are phospholipid. Okay, 4 categories are phospholipid, glycolipid, सल्फोलिपिड्स एंड लाइपोप्रोटीन्स. ठीक है, अब इन चारों में क्या डिफरेंस होगा? एक तो कॉमन चीज ये होगी, इनके स्ट्रक्चर में फैटी एसिड होगा प्लस अल्कोहल होगा. ओके, फैटी एसिड एंड अल्कोहल, दिस आर द कॉमन इन ऑल दिस फोर स्ट्रक्चर. फैटी एसिड मीन्स व्हाट? कार्बन एंड हाइड्रोजन, एंड अल्कोहल लाइक ग्लिसरॉल और एनी अदर टाइप ऑफ अल्कोहल. तो ये दो कंपोनेंट्स कॉमनली प्रेजेंट हो गए. ठीक है. फॉस्फोलिपिड्स में फॉस्फोरिक एसिड होगा. ओके, फॉस्फोलिपिड्स में फॉस्फोरिक एसिड होगा, एंड दिस फॉस्फोलिपिड further it is divided into two types like glycerophospholipid and sphingophospholipid. ठीक है, फॉस्फोलिपिड का फर्दर कन्वर्जन होता है ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड में और स्पिंगोफॉस्फोलिपिड में. ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड, दिस आर मेड अप ऑफ फैटी एसिड्स एंड ग्लिसरॉल. Glycerol in the form of alcohol. Okay, so phospholipid, as I told, it is divided into two types, glycerophospholipid and sphingophospholipid. Glycerophospholipid, it is made up of fatty acids, glycerol, phosphate group, and some nitrogen containing compound is there. Okay, so that is been there. Nitrogen containing compound like choline. Okay, कोलिन किस में प्रेजेंट होता है? एग्जाम्पल है लेसिथिन. एग्जाम्पल ऑफ ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड इज लेसिथिन. सेकेंड, स्पिंगोफॉस्फोलिपिड, इट इज मेड अप ऑफ फैटी एसिड एंड स्पिंगोसाइन फॉस्फेट एंड सम नाइट्रोजन कंटेनिंग कंपाउंड इज देयर. ओके, सो एग्जाम्पल ऑफ दिस स्पिंगोफॉस्फोलिपिड इज स्पिंगोमाइलिन. Okay, these are the examples of phospholipid. Next is glycolipids. Glycolipid, this contain the fatty acid plus sphingosine. ठीक है, फैटी एसिड के साथ क्या होता है? स्पिंगोसाइन होता है, और ग्लाइको है तो एडिशनली क्या होगा? कार्बोहाइड्रेट. ओके, एडिशनली होगा कार्बोहाइड्रेट. नेक्स्ट इज सल्फोलिपिड्स. डेफिनेटली they contain the sulfur. Lipoproteins, these are the lipid containing proteins. Okay, so these are the classification of complex lipids. Yes, it has been mentioned here. Phospholipid, these are the lipid containing fatty acid and alcohol, a phosphoric acid residue, whatever we have discussed that has been mentioned. तो phospholipid में मैंने आपको कहा था it contain fatty acid, alcohol and phosphoric acid. Okay, and they frequently have nitrogen containing bases. nitrogen containing bases भी है, और nitrogen containing compound we can say, or just nitrogen containing base or other substitutes. Examples are glycerophospholipid, or we can say that this phospholipid is divided into two types, glycerophospholipid and sphingophospholipid. Okay, glycerophospholipid, alcohol is glycerol, and sphingophospholipid, here alcohol is sphingosine. और मैंने ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड का एग्जाम्पल आपको बताया लेसिथिन. ओके, लेसिथिन. और यहाँ पर नाइट्रोजन कंटेनिंग बेस कौन सा है? कोलिन. ठीक है, लेसिथिन में नाइट्रोजन कंटेनिंग बेस है कोलिन. और स्पिंगोफॉस्फोलिपिड का एग्जाम्पल है स्पिंगोमिलिन. ओके, एग्जाम्पल ऑफ दिस इज स्पिंगोमिलिन. Second class was glycolipid, which is also called as glycospingolipids. The structure of this glycolipid, it contain fatty acid, sphingosine and carbohydrate. Okay, and other complex lipids are there, means other classes are there like lipoproteins and sulfolipids, which contain the sulfolipids such as sulfopides and aminolipids. Lipoprotein may also be placed in this category. The last classification is derived lipids. Okay, last है derived lipids. These lipids are obtained on the hydrolysis of simple and compound lipids. ठीक है, अगर simple या compound lipids का hydrolysis हो तो हमें मिलता है, जो प्रोडक्ट हमें मिलेगा, that product is known as derived lipids. Means we can say that derived lipid is obtained from the simple and compound lipids. Okay, and they possess the properties of lipids. Examples of this derived lipids are higher alcohols, fatty acids. The main example of derived lipid is fatty acid, जिसका synthesis हम देखने वाले हैं. Okay, so fatty acids, higher alcohols, steroids, hydrocarbons, etc. These are examples of derived lipids. तो जो syllabus में included है synthesis of lipids, that are fatty acid, then triglycerides and phospholipids. Okay, so these are the examples of derived lipid. So we will see one by one each synthesis in detail. Okay, so in this lecture we are going to focus on fatty acids, and in the next lecture immediately we will see the synthesis of fatty acids. Okay, so फैटी एसिड्स या फिर ट्राइग्लिसराइड्स या फिर फॉस्फोलिपिड्स डायरेक्टली हम जा सकते थे, डायरेक्टली हम इनका इंट्रोडक्शन देख सकते थे, बट इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो दैट व्हाट आर लिपिड्स बिकॉज दिस कम्स अंडर द लिपिड्स. तो लिपिड्स क्या है ये हमने इन ब्रीफ स्टडी किया है. ओके, नाउ लेट्स फोकस ऑन फैटी एसिड्स. फैटी एसिड्स दिस आर और दिस कम्स अंडर द क्लास ऑफ derived lipids. Okay, so fatty acids are carboxylic acids with hydrocarbon side chain. Carboxylic acid means COOH group. Okay, or C double bond OH group. In short, you can say COOH group. So fatty acids are carboxylic acids with hydrocarbon side chain, means they contain the hydrogen carbon like that side chain. Okay, then depend what type of arrangement is there. These are these are the simplest form of the lipids. Now we can say, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि derived lipids these are formed from the simple and compound lipids. ठीक है, derived lipids जो है ये simple और compound lipids से form हुए. तो हम इन फैटी एसिड्स को जनरली लिपिड्स भी बोल सकते हैं, या फिर यू कैन पुट दिस फैटी एसिड इनटू द क्लास ऑफ सिंपल, इनटू द क्लास ऑफ कंपाउंड, इनटू द क्लास ऑफ डिराइव्ड, और जनरली जस्ट यू से इट इज अ लिपिड. दैट्स इट. Okay, because we have shown this derived lipids, the name itself indicates derived means what? It is derived, it is obtained from simple and compound. So you can put this fatty acids just under the class of lipids. Fatty acids, this is the example of lipids. That's it. Okay, so that is been there. So this is the structure of general fatty acid which contain carbon, hydrogen, and carboxyl group is there, COOH group is there. Okay, so that is been the structure of fatty acid. If we will see the classification of fatty acid, सिर्फ classification fatty acid का, तो it is divided into two, saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acids. What is the difference between these two? Saturated fatty acid, it contain complete single bond between them, means carbon are attached together with the single bond. But in unsaturated fatty acids, carbon these are attached by double bond. That is the major difference. ठीक है, सैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड में कार्बन सिंगल बॉन्ड है और अनसैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड्स में कार्बन डबल बॉन्ड है. एग्जांपल्स of saturated fatty acids like acetic acid, butyric acid, lauric acid, myristic acid. These are the some common name with the scientific name with the formulas of saturated fatty acids. Next are the examples of unsaturated fatty acids like palmitoleic acid is there. Okay, palmitoleic acid, these are the structure and the source from which these fatty acids are obtained. So palmitoleic acid, it is obtained from sardine oil. Oleic acid is there which is obtained from olive oil, hence the name is given like oleic acid. Then linoleic acid is there which is obtained from olive oil. Next is linolenic acid which is obtained from linseed oil. Eroic acid which is obtained from rapeseed oil. Arachidonic acid obtained from peanut oil. Parinaric acid obtained from plant lipids. Okay, so these are the examples of unsaturated fatty acid which contains the double bond. Okay, so that difference you have to keep in mind. Examples of saturated acid, at least two examples you have to keep in mind of saturated and unsaturated. Saturated, you can keep in mind acetic acid and butyric acid. And in unsaturated, palmitoleic acid is there, oleic acid is there. You can keep these two names in mind. Okay, so these are the this is about the fatty acids. Now in the next lecture we will see the synthesis of fatty acids, and then we will go to the second lipid called as this triglycerides. Okay, so I hope it might be clear to you the concept of lipid. Thank you.